Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you all. If you're here live, feel free to pop something in the chat. If you're here on replay, hashtag replay, feel free to ask any questions of me. I read all of the comments and will absolutely respond. We're going to be talking about drama and being a victim today. Your favorite thing to talk about. Let me put my glasses on so I can see the screen. There we go. Hi, I'm Jenny Glick. Some of you know me. I'm a recovered therapist. I don't know. I work really differently now than how I used to as a therapist. And one of the primary ways that I work differently is that I really join with the women who I serve to help them see how they're stuck in this. See my little drawing? We call this the drama triangle. Some of you have maybe seen this, maybe your therapist has shown it to you. And in this space, when we talk about relationships, what I key into is where it is that as women, we are owning being the victim to our relationship. Well, let me tell you all the reasons why I can't change or my partner won't change. And what you're doing when you do that is you're arguing for your limitations. And you will totally get to keep them if you want, right? And we do this interesting thing in relationship where we can be the victim. He won't, she won't do A, B, or C. Or one of my favorites recently, in the last couple of years, everybody thinks their partner's a narcissist. Everybody thinks they're being gaslit because those words have been more in the cultural lexicon. And maybe that's true for you, which is fine. But it's this way of positioning ourselves as being the victim to somebody else. And then we can also be the persecutor, right? In that same conversation about how my partner is this and doing these things to me. And I can't believe that they're doing that. And so then I'm persecuting them. What an idiot. I deserve better. Withholding, touch, love, digging back, name calling, rolling your eyes, saying things like, oh my gosh, you're like having a third child, right? That's a way of persecuting your partner. And so, hi, we're just jumping right in today. Hope that works for you. Take a breath, pull out a pen and paper. Let's get to work. So I'm interested in working with women who are interested in not living in this anymore. So we're identifying where it is that you can be a victim, a persecutor, or a rescuer, right? And most of us can be all three. And the rescuer version is like, let me just do that for you. Oh my gosh, it's so hard for you. Let me take care of that. Well, he can't do that very well, so I'm just going to do it. And then feeling resentful about it, right? And then being a victim around it. Are you all following me? How we can toggle through all three of those things in a relationship. And when we do that, what happens is we're not allowing ourselves to actually fully express who it is that you could be. And what I work with women to do, women who are willing to be committed, more committed to the higher potential of who they are, more committed to the solution than to the problem, is I help them get out of this. And the first way that you start getting out of it is you start naming it and you start recognizing, oh my gosh, this is where I am. Holy crap, I'm being a victim again, right? A victim to whatever I don't have. As soon as you start, the conversation with, here are all the reasons why I can't. So that's you being more committed to the problem. One of my favorite way showers right now says that our only pathology as humans is being a victim. Because as soon as I'm a victim to whatever's happening around me, then I have no control to make any change, to do anything, and I just have to get through it. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's kind of an unpopular thing for me as a therapist to say, which is why I say I'm kind of a recovering therapist. Because as a therapist, we're not really supposed to say that. It's a little controversial, right? And I recognize that as children or young adults, and even as adults, many of us have been victim to crime, abuse, right? All of that is real. And what we do with our past circumstances and how it is that we position ourselves present day is what will help you create what's next. And so what I encourage you to do is to really pay attention to how it is that you are tangled up in this appropriately named drama triangle. Look it up. There are all kinds of pictures of this and explanation. You can spend a lot of time looking at that. And as long as you stay here, you can't create change, right? One of the parts that was so frustrating to me as a therapist when I worked, traditionally in an office working one-on-one with my amazing clients, right, who I loved, is that the premise is that somebody's coming in to really talk about where it is that usually they're the victim to something that has happened. Whether, for me, because I work in the marriage space and relationship, a lot about how my partner is treating me or the affair that has happened or the circumstances around my life. And again, not that I don't have deep compassion for what it is that human beings go through and endure. It's immense, right? So we can have compassion and understand that, a lot of this wasn't maybe consciously chosen, right? And at the same time, we can further codify, further, give expression to the victim nature by continuing to talk about that experience for months or years. Again, to use an example, like to talk about the husband who's not willing to change. And the more we talk about it, the more we're in the soup of the emotion and the feeling and the frustration and the anger, and we feel wronged, right? It just creates more of that. Where our attention goes, our energy flows. Like, we know this. It's not rocket science, right? So in that real traditional kind of therapy model, it's all about, on my end, it's about unconditional positive regard. So if somebody says, this is what's going on for me, and it's terrible, and my husband did this, or my partner did that, it's like, wow, of course, that's painful, right? And I always wanted to help move them out of it, right? Validate, hear, empathize. And now let's get into creating something else so you can get out of this, because this will suck your life away. Say bye-bye life. This is what you're going to spend your life in, just toggling around and then having your own affair to punish your partner, or feeling bad about whatever it is that you're doing to kind of get back at them, and then saying, never mind, I'm going to stay even though you were ready to leave. There's just so many ways that it plays out in our lives. And, I realized at some point, I want to guide women who want to get out of this, but that means changing your identity, because this is an identity. Having a victim mindset is an identity, and it's a totally fine choice for anyone to make if that's what somebody wants to make. It's who I choose to work with, women who say, I don't want to be a victim to my life, to my circumstance anymore. And so they've done the good, often, therapy processing, and they recognize the repeating patterns from their childhood or their first marriage or whatever's happening. But man, do they see themselves doing it again. And they're just rattling around in this, talking crap about their partner, not doing anything different, feeling like they're the victim, waiting for their partner to change, rescuing their partner when, their partner feels bad. And that will make you crazy, which is why you might be self-medicating in so many different ways. So I work with women who are interested in getting sober from this massively addictive pattern. Because the truth is, we have total control over what we think, what we choose to park in our emotional state, what we do, and what we believe. And I can have something happen to me. I had something recently in the last 2 months happen to me. And it would be so easy for me to be the victim. I can't believe this happened. I didn't do anything. I follow all the rules, right? All of the things. I had to change my life and make lots of different choices because something external happened. And I could have made a story that I'm the victim, and people would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible. But that's not who I want to be, because who I am is a victor, right? If you want to be a victor in your life, then you're not a victim to anything that happens. You say, oh, wow, okay, the circumstances expressed itself. What am I going to do with it? Because we recognize that I'm a creator. I'm a co-creator of my life. So anything that happens, your car breaks down. Okay, I'm a co-creator of this moment. What am I going to do? Right? How am I going to co-create an experience here? Even when we say that so much in my 8-week program with the women who I mentor, we talk about even when your basement floods, even when your kid is sick, even when you lose your job, how am I going to decide to be a victor and decide to create and be a co-creator of my life? And the third word I put there is a finder, right? I teach women to be a finder of solutions, because there are people who seek and then there are people who find. And let's find you a solution. Let's be doggedly committed to the solution of whatever the problem is, which I call a puzzle, right? Because if we see life as a puzzle, we're in an interesting moment right now in my life and my husband. We've been staying with family. We moved to a rental in a couple of days. We're driving up to Colorado to get some things out of storage. You're coming back down here. We're looking for a house to buy. It's like all kinds of movement happening, right? And I am resolutely committed to being a finder to solutions. And solutions aren't always like what it's going to look like. I don't know where we're going to live. I don't know a lot of things, but I can be a finder of an emotional frequency that is not in the drama triangle, right? That's in a place of being a victor. I'm a winner in my life, and I choose to show up in that way. Not that everything's perfect, because it's not. My life is equally as messy as anybody else's, but I choose to be with those messes from a perspective of delight, joyful anticipation, which I was just talking about with some of the women who I'm mentoring, right? How do I have joyful anticipation when I don't know where I'm going to live in 6 months? So how do I align to a belief that will serve me? Not from a Pollyanna way, right? But from a way knowing that, yes, I will have somewhere to live, right? Like we all know that. You get to a certain age, and I've had many homes and rental homes and owned homes and lived in all kinds of places. I always have a place to live, right? So I know I will live somewhere. So rather than self-terrorizing, which is what the drama triangle invites you to do, is to terrorize yourself. You're a victim, and then you're angry. How many of us have had this, where you feel like you're a victim to your situation, you don't know where you're living, you don't know where your next job is going to be, so you feel like a victim, and then you start criticizing your partner or your kids, right? So then you're now being a persecutor of them because you feel out of control, right? And that's a really typical place to go. But when we flip that and say, I'm a victor in my life, I'm choosing to co-create this, and I'm going to find an emotional state that's going to serve me, which is joyful anticipation. And sure, I have the normal feelings, right? So there's a little mini tutorial on the difference between your emotional state and your feelings. I can choose my emotional state of joyful anticipation, and I still have the feelings, which are like, it's like the weather, right? Of like the waking up at 2 a.m. and like, holy crap, what are we doing? Right? Are interest rates going to stay low? Right? Like the feelings that come with that. But I'm choosing joyful anticipation. So I can feel the feeling, because we're all human, we get to feel our feelings. And then I get to decide where I'm going to toggle back into this place of alignment. And I do this a lot because what I'm helping women to do is to get into an aligned state where they're thinking and feeling and doing and believing in a place of total alignment, as opposed to thinking, I wish things would work out for me, but I'm terrified, and then self-terrorizing yourself with these beliefs. Nothing ever works out. How come my partner doesn't help me? I'm always alone. And then you're all cockeyed and crooked. And then you wonder why it feels like your life is a mess or it's out of control. It's because you're not aligned here. So let's get back into alignment, which requires a lot of intention and a lot of awareness and a lot of recognizing this is not serving you. It is not serving you. And once you recognize that and you get to a place where you're ready to like get into a different life, right? And it doesn't mean a different life with like a different partner or a different house or job or country or whatever, though it could be. But there's actually a different version of your life that you can just step into. It's like a different timeline. You just step into it. And it's the version of you that is grounded, the version of you that actually takes care of you, that listens, that you're tired and so you sleep an extra 20 minutes, or that you need to take a walk, so you do, and you skip eating all the chips in the pantry. Like you're really loving yourself. You're seeing yourself. You're listening to yourself. You know, I hear women say things and like, I love us, right? Ladies, women, I love you. But I hear us say things like, I really want my relationship to change, but my partner doesn't think I'm important and doesn't listen to me. So I'm just waiting for him. I want to say, listen to yourself, right? Listen to yourself. Because if you're waiting, you're in this. And please hear me, I'm not advocating for people to get a divorce. I mean, though you can. But listen to yourself. Because if you want your partner to listen to you, you need to listen to yourself first. And if you are saying, I chose somebody who doesn't listen to me, listen to yourself and then take action on that. And what does that look like for you? And this is the nitty-gritty of making some really bold new decisions to create some alignment, right? Well, my partner doesn't think I'm that important. Well, how important do you think you are? How important are you willing to be to yourself, to show up? And please hear me that I'm not putting anybody down, but I am here to make you a little uncomfortable, because if you're not willing to like look at what you're doing, look at how it's not working, right? Then I can't help you. I can't help you leave this, because as long as they're the problem, you're in this. And you can be in this your whole life. Most people are, which is totally a choice that people get to make, like coloring your hair or living in an RV. Like you just get to make choices with your energy, with your resources. And it's not good or bad. It is simply a choice. But if your choice is producing an experience that is not the kind of experience that you would prefer to have, then looking at your choices takes you into being a co-creator of your life. And now you have the potential to find answers, right? Find solutions. And when you're in this place where you're no longer a victim to what happens, life is super fun because it's not so scary. And you're not walking around with quite so much anxiety, because anxiety happens when what's happening outside of me is not meeting my expectation. And so I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated and I'm in this revved up place because whatever, the house isn't clean enough, my partner's not showing up the way that I want, I don't have the marriage that I want, the kids are a mess. Like these things, sorry, I almost dropped this on the floor, I jumped. So these things, I've taught myself that I have to be revved up and in an anxious state unless these things change. And that will keep you totally enslaved in this drama triangle. And so learning how to be a co-creator and practice acceptance and allowing, yeah, this stuff is happening. My partner is the way that they are. The house is a mess. The kids are doing what they're doing. Oh, okay, how do I come back into my alignment, right? And practice feeling, having an emotional state that actually will serve me. being a co-creator and showing up in ways that will create something anew, creating some beliefs that are of service to me. I love recrafting beliefs. One of the beliefs that we've been playing with in my graduate space is around everything always works out for me. Always, right? So play with that belief. What's that like for you to try that on? What beliefs are running you, right? Beliefs like, I'm always stuck. Nothing ever works out for me. My partner's like having a third child. I always have to do everything on my own. I don't belong. Those beliefs create an emotional state, right? Is this making sense to you? So I hope that you will start bringing a lot of awareness, because that's the first step, is to see, holy moly, I am in a place where I am practicing being a victim. And if you're going to practice being a victim, you're going to get super good at it, which is totally fine, but just be aware of it and own it. Be like, yep, I'm choosing to be a victim here. Great. And until one day you're going to decide, you know what? I want to be the victor. Awesome. What do you need to find? What do you need to create to make that happen? Right? Sometimes the women who work with me say, I feel like it was divine timing. I just saw you online or whatever, however they fell into me. And it's like they called me in, right? They were in that moment where they were ready to be a creator, a finder. So I hope that this has been of service to you. I'm not sure if I introduced myself at the beginning of the video. I'm Jenny Glick. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a certified sex therapist, and here I'm a mentor for women who are ready to embody their highest potential in their relationships, whether they're married, single, widowed, divorced, divorcing, right? Women who recognize they have been practicing being a victim in their lives and they're ready to get sober from that addiction. So lovely to have you here. Check the links below for getting on my email list. I have an online program that is available right now. I will be enrolling for my private relationship mastery course September 1. So if you're interested in doing that, you can DM me or click on the links below to find out more information. Thank you so much for being here. Always lovely to be of service. And I will see you next week. Adios.